When talking about psychics in terms of paranormal theory, it is perhaps important to point out that often the presence of ghosts and psychics occur simultaneously. Many of the examples of ghosts in the literature previously examined also contain psychics as catalysts within the stories. It may be advantageous to separate the appearance of psychics out of these pieces of literature in order to examine their own influence on paranormal theory. This brings us to the sole tenet of paranormal theory, which deals with psychic characters and their storylines. Psychics and the presence of ESP, extrasensory perception, represent the attempt to know the unknowable, the future, the existence of life after death, the target's past or unknown historical circumstances. When dealing with ghosts, the obvious connection is that of proof of life after death. Many of the ghostly films and other literature references, already analyzed in the previous section on ghosts, also deal with psychics. In Stir of Echoes, Tom does not see the ghost of the murdered girl until he has been given the gift of clairvoyance, which is the ability to see ghosts and events of the past. Whoopi Goldberg's character in Ghost is the psychic who bridges that gap between living Molly and dead Sam. In the others, a psychic is the antagonist who pesters the ghostly protagonists. In the Conjuring films, the protagonists are professional psychics Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are hired by various individuals to investigate ghosts, demons, and the like. Here we get a mixture of all of the elements from the psychic tenet of paranormal theory. In The Conjuring 2, the Warrens investigate a poltergeist in Enfield, England. This case, however, cannot be solved by their usual means of connecting with a spirit and finding out what it wants/needs in order to move on to the afterlife. Here the Warrens must research various historical records and first-hand accounts to get to the spirit's real motivation for tormenting this Enfield family. By doing this, Ed and Lorraine rely not only on their ability to see and communicate with spirits, they must also use conventional means to release the ghost from the earthly plane. Thus, psychics in literature have to straddle the line between the metaphysical and conventional, using both their sixth sense and their intellect and practical applications. Speaking of the Sixth Sense, 1999, here we have a psychic who is also a protagonist. Young Cole, Haley Joel Osment, can see dead people. He is tormented by ghosts who have an agenda. If they notice that Cole can see them, unlike most people, they bother him until he helps them to achieve a goal of some sort, usually to communicate something to the living. One ghost girl wants Cole to give her father a video cassette containing evidence of her poisoning. The ghost of Cole's grandmother wants to communicate to Cole's mother how proud she is of her. A group of ghosts who were wrongfully hanged in the place that is now Cole's school want Cole to communicate how and why they died. These demands on Cole's ability to see dead people rely on Cole's gift, but also on the gifts of Cole's psychiatrist, Malcolm Crowe, Bruce Willis. Cole's youth and inexperience is tempered by Malcolm's clinical intellect. Where Cole is unwilling or unable to use his gift, Malcolm steps in with logic and reasoning to diffuse the situation. Cole feels better about being less afraid of his talents and thus can help the spirits he encounters. Cole uses what Malcolm brings to the table to disseminate the need to fear what he can see but others cannot. The two together make one complex protagonist. In the 1988 comedy, Vibes, Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum play two psychics, Sylvia and Nick respectively, hired to find a lost Incan city. Sylvia has a spirit guide, Louise, who tells her about the future, and Nick has the gift of psychometry. He can touch things and tell you about their past. Again, together they make one great psychic and one great protagonist. Sylvia's gifts are ethereal while Nick's are grounded in the tangible. One uses ESP and one uses solid objects to discover a past, historical context, yet they both represent the unknowable. In addition to Stir of Echoes, The Sixth Sense and Vibes, there are many other films which contain a link between psychics and ghosts. Extraordinary, 2020, features a psychic who must unravel the mystery of who is enslaving ghosts for nefarious purposes. Ouija, Origin of Evil, 2016, presents a fake psychic whose daughter displays an authentic psychic ability to communicate with the dead. In Necrotronic, the protagonist discovers he is the descendant of a long line of psychics who are trying to find out the source of who is tormenting ghosts for profit. The long history of ghosts and psychics is varied and yet oddly similar. To add to their authenticity, most psychic characters are grounded in research and tools that lend themselves to believability. Psychics are to know the unknowable by knowing the knowable. That is to say, for their gifts to come from an otherworldly place, we need to believe in their worldly place. We must connect with their logic, their research, things that set them up in the real world, in order to accept their psychic gifts.